My name is Nadav Gordon, and I'm joined by Peter Muller-Earl today. I'm responsible for strategic accounts here at HeadSpin, and Peter Muller-Earl is responsible for sales engineering as part of our broader team. We'd like to thank you all for making the time to join us today. And today we'll be talking about how your organization can use Appium with the HeadSpin digital experience testing platform to run tests for native apps, mobile web apps, and hybrid apps on real devices. So let's take a look at the topics we're going to quickly cover and dive right into it. So I'll spend a few minutes giving you an overview of the HeadSpin platform, and then I'll turn it over to Peter thereafter, and he's going to walk you through a platform demo of HeadSpin, as well as an overview of the Appium load balancer. And we'll follow that up with a Q&A session. If you happen to have any questions as we're going along, you can submit them by clicking on the Q&A button in the control panel of the Zoom application, and we'll answer them after Peter concludes the demo. So I'm going to turn off my camera now to conserve some bandwidth and ensure that the slides are being presented as needed. And then we'll get started. Give me just a moment. So who is HeadSpin and what do we offer? So HeadSpin is a 7-year-old company based in Palo Alto, California. And we were founded on the premise of helping our customers execute synthetic testing on real-world digital experiences. So as you may be aware, speed, ease of use, and ensuring the experience is consistent are critically important to the success of every enterprise. And that's where HeadSpin's platform really comes into play. So we recognize that delivering a great digital experience is an act of deep collaboration between the likes of product management, development, testing, and site reliability engineering teams. And our platform helps to drive that collaboration. So we're backed by the likes of Google Ventures and other firms that you see here on the right-hand side. And in addition to Google also being one of our top customers, we've been blessed to be able to partner with some amazing brands, such as Amazon, Pinterest, and others whose digital experiences are undeniably tied to business results. We serve customers across a wide array of industry verticals, and some of these customers are being served across multiple geographies with hundreds of devices under test. And so our platform allows organizations to get a clear end-to-end view of the digital experiences that they offer. And the way that we're able to do this is by using real devices and quality of experience analytics for mobile, web, audio, video, and other connected experiences like Internet of Things and even infotainment dashboards in cars. So our platform can be broken down into 4 pillars, as you can see here. So starting on the left, our global device infrastructure, through which you'll be able to access hundreds of real devices to test and monitor your customer experiences end-to-end on actual carrier and Wi-Fi networks. And we currently have a presence in 70 countries and over 100 different locations. The second pillar is where you essentially have support for essentially all testing frameworks. So we have native integrations with the likes of Appium and Selenium, and that allows for seamless integration into your CI/CD workflows and enabling functional and performance testing for both pre as well as post-release. And our open APIs give you the ability to export data and insights to any BI and data visualization platforms, as well as monitoring dashboards. The third pillar is where you have performance and quality of experience measurement. So our platform allows you to identify bottlenecks and issues by surfacing the underlying root causes from all layers of your technology stack. So whether it be audio or video quality of experience to the code and even packet visibility, our platform gives you the ability to measure KPIs that you care about, whether they are extensive app, device, network, and even critical user journeys and screen transitions. We have 140 KPIs that come out of box in the platform. And additionally, if there are other KPIs that your organization cares about and wants to measure, we can help you customize those as well. And then finally, on the right, we have insights to actions. So this is where HeadSpin really separates itself from other device farms where you typically only get a pass or a fail grade on the tests that you run. We're able to deliver deep regression and aggregation insights throughout the digital lifecycle. So over time, you can build your regression intelligence using real analysis and metadata from the sessions that you run on the devices that you choose to run them on. And the last piece here is how we deploy. So I mentioned earlier that we have infrastructure in 70 different countries and over 100 different locations, and we offer several different models of deployment. On-premise, cloud, which is either single or multi-tenant, hybrid options, or a create your own lab capability. So if you're looking for an on-premise deployment and you wanted to host your own devices internally in your data centers, we have appliances called the P box and the AV box that you can see here on the left-hand side, which you can essentially leverage to deploy and put up to 24 devices in a P box and in 2 devices in an AV box. Now, the difference between these two is the AV box is an apparatus that's leveraged for audio and video quality of experience testing in a sound and light isolated enclosure. The AV box is the only apparatus of its kind in the market today. So typically you'll have organizations that are testing streaming video or audio that would leverage this apparatus to run tests on audio or video quality. The second model is the cloud. So the cloud deployment is our most popular option. And in this model, you would leverage our infrastructure by picking a data center in any one of our 100 locations globally and deploying the devices of your choice. We also offer a hybrid model where you can leverage a mixture of HeadSpin infrastructure as well as your own. And you have the ability to deploy a P box in a country where we don't actually have a data center if you choose to do so through one of our partners. And lastly, we offer a capability called Create Your Own Lab, where you can plug in devices to your laptop and run tests remotely while leveraging the HeadSpin remote control that Peter will show you as part of the demo. So that concludes the high-level overview of our platform. I'll now turn it over to Peter to walk you through a platform demo and overview of the Appium load balancer. Peter, over to you.
Great, thanks, Nadav. Before I pop into the platform itself here, I just want to kind of show this slide illustrating the global device infrastructure that we have already in place here. And that P box is kind of is that appliance that we're able to rapidly deploy in case there are locations that are not currently supported that you may need in your testing needs here. At the bottom of that slide here, you can get an idea of the different types of devices that we work with. It's really a broad range here from Android and iOS to OTT platforms, Roku, Android devices or Android TV devices, desktop browsers, even gaming platforms here like PlayStation and Xbox. So there's quite a bit of devices under our portfolio available for you to run your tests on. Next slide. And then towards the later end here, one of the topics we'll discuss is a feature of HeadSpin called the Appium load balancer. And what that allows you to do is basically customize your testing environment very specifically to incorporate really a number of criteria here from testing on specific carrier networks or specific devices here. And HeadSpin will basically, we'll go and get into more detail here, but you can create a generic request for a device portfolio or device port profile, and HeadSpin will go ahead and fulfill that request. I'll go ahead and jump into the platform here. And so what we're looking at immediately here is the device list. We call this the remote control portfolio here. On the left-hand side, we can see the different modules of HeadSpin here. We are, as Nadav kind of alluded to earlier here, we are a lot more than just a device farm here, but of course we do certainly have the device farm aspect here where you can see all of the devices that are in your portfolio here by either browser or device type and location. You can see we have locations here all over the world. I can go ahead and hit the start button here to be launched into a manual session here, or I can use the automation configuration here for the device to run some automation on that. There is a direct device configuration, as well as what we call the load balance configuration here. The direct device configuration is going to be a little bit faster there. That goes directly to the device, whereas the load balance configuration is, again, kind of fulfilling your need based on a request. And so what will basically happen is you'll input the request for a device profile, and HeadSpin will kind of fulfill that based on your device specifications here, and then run your tests. And you'll see what I mean there in just a second. But let's pop into a device here, and I have these Pixel devices that I like to use. We'll open a manual session. And so at this point, the device is going to function just like you'd expect. I can just point and click with my mouse here, type with my keyboard. We even have a feature that we call mini remote, where I can actually use my device in my own hand to actually scan this code. And that'll pop open a browser portal where you can actually, on your own device, control this device here in the remote cloud here. So it's a nice manual feature. We have hard buttons built into the system here. And what I always, I love this feature here. We have the Appium inspector actually built into the platform. I cannot tell you how much time this has saved me running proof of concepts with customers, or even supporting efforts that already exist. Because for those of you that are familiar with the Appium inspector here, I can write a whole test here by simply hitting the record button and navigating around here in the device. And the Appium inspector will go ahead and spit out the relevant Appium code here. You're even able to decide what language you want it to be spit out in. And having this side by side with the device that you're actually working with, again, just saves developers and QA a lot of time. Especially not having to deal with the Appium inspector standalone. On this overview page, we get general information about the device here. If the device was on a carrier, you'd see that here. We do support SIM network testing, what kind of network it's on, that sort of thing. Tools here gives you some additional just kind of shortcuts. I won't go through everything here, but shortcut to a browser, retrieve from clipboard here. You do also have access to the Android shell here as well. And then if you want to automate against this device, you have that automation configuration here. Now, the differentiator here with HeadSpin is going to be our ability to do a deep dive into performance data here. Now, if that's something that I wanted to do here, what I would do is I would actually hit the start recording session in a manual case, and I can decide to do that with or without network. There are going to be cases where you may want to do one or the other. Let me restart that device here. But basically, once you enable that performance capture, then anything that you do on the device is going to be performance graded by HeadSpin. There is also a driver capability in the automation side of things that you would just pass to tell HeadSpin that you want the performance capture data and you're not just running a basic feature test. So let's pop over into one of those example sessions here. And this is a very rich area here. There's a lot of data that HeadSpin collects and a lot of different ways that allow you to collaborate, do cross-team collaboration between QA and your dev team. I'll go over this kind of slowly. Up in the top left is going to be metadata about the run here, what device, where it was, if there was a SIM network involved. You also have access to all of the test assets. So you have the screen recording, HAR file, PCAP, any of the KPIs that we take, you can also download here manually. We do also provide APIs for you to work integration of this report into any of your existing reporting solutions, such as Jira, for example. Towards the middle here, we get one look at the network capture breakdown. This is going to be breakdown across a couple different axes here, and I can even expand this. Breakdown on session-wide content, session-wide domain traffic, status codes, domain level, host level, that sort of thing. As I scroll down here, you get a little more data there. Up on the top right is going to be a complete video of the run. You can certainly hit that play button to view the entire session here. But I come down here to what we call the time series. And this is a very unique way for us to line out the data here. And this is where we get a look at the 140 different KPIs that HeadSpin has available to go ahead and grade your application here. What we're looking at here is, again, we call this the time series, and from the left to the right is going to be your test from beginning to end. And you can see as I scrub along the time series here, the video does go ahead and jump to that portion of the test. And we can see the KPIs here spiking or not spiking, corresponding to what's occurring in the test. The KPIs here, there's a number of KPIs. So maybe I'll go over by category kind of. At the top, we go over impact, this idea of impact. These are basically HeadSpin's engine auditing the run and basically telling you areas where we found flaws and where the most amount of infractions occurred. As I scroll down here, we get to video quality KPIs. HeadSpin has a proprietary VMOS, video quality MOS, that we will grade the run here. And for cases where video is important, you can basically have an indicator here where rather than having a tester have to perceive a quality loss, our HeadSpin machine learning algorithm will actually go ahead and tell you that we did see we experienced a degradation. More video KPIs here as we go down, page content, frame rate. We start getting into network speed or network KPIs, how many connections are going, network concurrency, overall HTTP throughput. And then down into CPU and memory usage. Depending on the device here, you may see different things. Like, for example, if we were doing a desktop browser run, we may not see battery voltage and things like that. And then we get an idea of the LTE signal. This device had a LTE signal. Now, so those are the KPIs, right? And then we get a look at what is actually occurring in your run. And this is where things get really interesting here, because here at the top, we get an idea of what applications are actually running, Nexus Launcher activity into the Google Chrome application. We get all of the TCP connections lined out very precisely in terms of what domain and what was actually occurring at that portion of the test here. So if we start to experience degradation services here or in one of our features, then we can go ahead and begin that root cause analysis down to the specific TCP calls that could be causing those issues here. All right. All of these little network connections are going to be inspectable as well. So I can click on each of these individual calls, get an idea of the metadata for what was occurring there. And then, for example, take a look at the request headers. On the left-hand side here, we get this impact score. And this is, Nadav kind of talked about the ability to get more than just a pass or a fail out of your tests here. And this is where we get an idea of that. Because most cloud providers, they can certainly run your tests, but with this impact score, what this is an overall grade for the run based on all the data and our machine learning audit system. Something that a score above 80 would mean that overall you had a pretty good test run, a pretty good user experience, and you wouldn't expect to maybe lose a customer based on that experience here. But anything below 80 is going to be reflective of a pretty poor user experience here. And so we have blue chip customers that actually use this overall impact score as the pass fail for their testing, not just the simple Appium, did it pass or fail at a feature level, but how was the experience? can we pass it or fail it based on the overall experience? And I have an example of one of those there, but as an example, one of our many customers here will basically have a minor benchmark, a regression threshold rather. And any new features that they're developing here, if the impact store starts to degrade, then they'll go ahead and fail that run and rebuild and figure out how to get that back up. So that way they're never losing customers based on that. Overall, the impact score here is going to consist of it's based on what we call these issue cards below. And these are the actual infractions that our machine learning algorithm has come across here. And again, so this is really where again, HeadSpin comes in as a differentiator here on the market, because we employ data scientists, and we've spent years training machine learning bots basically to get all this data. And we've spent a lot of time on that. The categories here, here's an example on domain sharding. We found 13 infractions in this test case, and overall we think we could have shaved 3.5 seconds off of that time. If I click into that issue card, you can see that the interface has changed here, and we can actually go and view those infractions in the time series. I can also get them in a table format here, and we can decide what to do there from that point on here. HeadSpin also gives you a breakdown on why we flagged that and what you can actually do about that. So domain sharding, slow DNS queries, even subjective things like low page content, right? Again, this is one of those things that from a human tester, you may have an automation run go through and pass, but you don't even notice that there is an area of the test that where a user would have had a poor experience here. So if I go ahead and click that, you can see that our system shows that in the time series, and I can go there and I can see, yeah, there was a good section of this test that nothing was showing. And it looks like there were some resources loading here, and I can use HeadSpin to go and do that root cause analysis here to try and figure out what happened and get that fixed. So we can do this in both a pre-release cycle, but we also do this in post-release cycles. We do this in real-time monitoring, where we're monitoring production services, and we're able to see if any microservices, even down to the microservice level here, are breaking down, and we can set alerts on those. Another feature here, as kind of the looking into the data science side of things, is we're able to essentially highlight sections of the test here. So I can say right about here, we begin the page load. Right, and so you can see that I'm highlighting the time series here, and I can now create a label. And so this is a custom KPI that I can then attach a threshold to. And if the threshold goes above or below it, things can occur, builds can fail, things like that. But you have the power to define these custom KPIs. Maybe we'll go over to another example here. This we were just looking at a mobile web example, but now we'll look at a native application. Well, there's going to be a lot of similarities here, but mainly what I want to highlight here is that with native application runs here, we are able to get to the function level. When I come down here to the time series, you can see we have the bundle, and then we have each of the function calls that happened as they happened lined up very easily for me to see. So very, very unique way to exposit this data, and incredibly easy to start doing some root cause analysis here. If there's any questions about any of this, please pop over into the Q&A here. We're happy to answer those towards the end of the call here. I'll pop over to some of the dashboards here, because we do see ourselves as a one-stop shop. So besides being the device farm and the data science here, we also have the dashboarding here. All of the data that you're generating here is able to be exposed into a Grafana style dashboard here. This is one example from one of our customers here where they are measuring individual services that are used during ordering of one of their products here. And we can see that they're basically grading from red to green how long these are taking here. So they have a target for each of these, and as they get closer to the target or away from the target, they'll decide whether or not to move forward with builds. Okay, so that's the platform overview here. Now, the Appium load balancer here is a unique way for you to customize the environment here. So I'll just briefly bring this slide up again, because again, we have all of these devices all over the world here, and having all of these devices allows you to expand and prevent a lot of bugs, or expand your testing and prevent a lot of poor user experiences. Based on this information here, and actually we talked about it briefly here with the automation configuration. The load balanced configuration allows us to input a request for a device profile. That can be across a number of things. It can be against a SKU. So we're requesting a pixel 4, any pixel 4. It can be a location. And it can be even a carrier network, a device that's on a certain carrier network. So trying to get to the page here. So here's a look at all the different, this is just one portion of it, but these are the type of environment variables that you can pick from our global device infrastructure to define the environment for the test that you're looking to actually operate. What this allows you to do is not get held up trying to test on a very specific device, for example, or a specific UDID, and let HeadSpin just get a device that fits your needs, not and not block you in that manner. As an example here, one way this could be used is in a Jenkins pipeline here, where we've basically parameterized our entire build here. This does require you to make some small modifications to your framework here to basically parameterize the capabilities area. But instead of hard coding all of this information, we can now in a parameterized run, I can decide which SKUs I want to run on. In this case, this is a browser-based environment, and then I can also even specify which regions, because again, we're global. I can say I want a Chrome browser located in the EU, and then I can decide, do I want it to be a desktop browser or a mobile browser? But I have that freedom to create easy to use pipelines and dynamic pipelines that get you out of the IDE. So that's the Appium load balancer here. I think maybe we can take a look at some of the questions.
Absolutely, Peter. So we have a couple of them that were submitted here. Looks like, what automation frameworks are supported by HeadSpin? That's the first one.
Yeah, good question. So we are pretty agnostic in that regard. We support pretty much any for browsers. We support any Selenium-based framework. For mobile devices, we support any Appium-based framework. We also support XUI and Espresso tests. So we're pretty agnostic there. If there's specific frameworks that I didn't mention that you're curious about, happy to go into more detail there.
All right. And the second one is, how does a load balancer enhance my pipeline?
Sure, yeah. So the load balancer enhances your pipeline by giving you the freedom to select device profiles to expand your testing environment. So you can, instead of just testing on one device in one location, you can test on devices all over the world of many different types and not be tied down to a specific device. And if you're tied down to a specific device, then or not running in parallel, then that can certainly slow down your pipelines.
All right, thanks for answering those, Peter. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. So just wanted to thank everybody for joining today and making the time as part of this session. So we hope this was helpful and informative to you all. If you have any questions that come to mind after the session, or you're interested in scheduling a deeper dive demo around the KPIs and or rather the use cases and KPIs that matter to you and your organization, please feel free to reach out to me directly at the email below, and we'd be happy to schedule some time with you to kind of walk you through the platform works for your organization and can benefit you. I should also mention that we have a webinar coming up on August 29th, where we'll talk about our AV box solution that I covered a little bit earlier in the presentation portion of this session, and how you can essentially test unique audio and video type of use cases on the HeadSpin platform. Thanks everybody for joining and making the time once again, and hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.